If you want power or just curious about it, this is your video. In this guide, we dive deep into one of the most subtle yet powerful laws of influence. From the 48 Laws of Power book by Robert Greene titled, "Strike the Shepherd and the Sheep Will Scatter." You'll explore the nature of leadership and the fragility of dependence. Through a blend of philosophy and psychological insights, we'll unravel how to use this law to gain control or protect yourself from its effects. By the end, you'll learn not just how to disrupt power, but how to build resilient systems of leadership that stand strong even in moments of uncertainty. Chapter 1. The Nature of Leadership and Power. In every group, the leader acts as the glue that holds everything together. This law emphasizes how deeply people rely on a central figure to guide and unite them. Without this leader, chaos often follows, with members losing direction and purpose. But it's not just about dependency. People gravitate towards authority. It simplifies their decisions, giving them someone to follow, someone to defer to. When that authority is removed, what was once a solid group can quickly break apart. This phenomenon is tied to how humans seek security and leadership, avoiding uncertainty by placing their faith in a person of influence. In philosophical terms, Stoicism touches upon the impermanence of external factors. Marcus Aurelius often spoke about the fickle nature of human allegiances. By relying on external leadership, people risk instability when that external source fades away. Psychologically, there's a phenomenon known as social proof, the tendency to look to others for cues on how to behave, especially in uncertain situations. The leader becomes a point of social proof. Remove that point, and uncertainty floods in. Studies from the 1970s, Milgram's work on obedience, for example, show how authority figures hold sway, even when their decisions are morally questionable. When those figures are gone, people's loyalty to a cause weakens too, revealing how fragile the structure was all along. To use this law for power, always go for the head. Target the leader of any group, organization, or movement. Without their leadership, the collective often disbands or weakens significantly. But this tactic can also be used against you. If you're the leader, protect yourself from becoming the single point of failure. Build a network of shared authority, ensuring that your followers have other trusted figures to look to, keeping the structure resilient even if you are removed from the equation. The power of this law lies in recognizing how much rests on one person's shoulders and manipulating or protecting that dependency. Chapter 2. Vulnerable Structures. The second layer explores the tenuousness of influence. Human mind always stays loyal to the loud voice, and this makes weak. It is unconstructive to rely on a single person because they become easy to manipulate or eliminate, and people become helpless. Take away that source of influence, and the once rock-solid level of loyalty can quickly turn into confusion. From the Stoic point of view, dependence of people on the chosen ones is pernicious because it reflects what is dangerous to rely on someone. Epictetus also recommended strength within. Strength, in fact, should not be sought from other people. Any community, organization, or nation that relies its fate on one person will be lost when that power is removed. A Stoic would say that depending on anyone is cowardliness, that one should indeed empower themselves. Psychologically, the so-called dependency paradox comes into force here. This is an irony telling that when we are more assured of our relationships, we don't have to rock the boat or take chances. For example, after a successful leader speaks. This fosters dependency, whereby followers rely more on their leaders, and they are eventually left helpless when it comes to decision-making. This is supported by the attachment theory that Ode to Bowlby, 1969, holds that people generally affiliate with those whom they feel can lead them, though this puts a dent on their individualism. Applying this law into power implies when to profit from the vulnerabilities of people. The decision maker, while being powerful, is frequently an individual with centralized authority. Remove them, their fan base turns into directionless ships. Similarly, dependence holds the same threats. With the help of submission, one can be easily manipulated. To defend yourself, don't allow anyone to have too much control over your own sense of direction. Cultivate a sense of inner strength and encourage the same in others. When leaders crumble, those who can stand alone will survive the fallout. Chapter 3. The Power of Decentralization. The literal sense of it is to hit the leader so that the followers disperse. However, there is more to learn about it. Decentralization. A wise leader is aware that he or she is the only link between the organizational structure and its success. It is rather risky when people gather more authority and position into one person, since it weakens the structure. However, as power is devolved, authority delegated to subordinates, or a more organic structure is formed. The leader builds up the system. In this way, if necessary, only these positions in the organization may be eliminated, or if you have been fired, the organization will have time to recover, or at least not immediately begin to crumble. On the conceptual level, it fits the self-same theory of Stoicism that in particular underlines the observance of impendence. The philosopher Marcus Aurelius said the uncertainties of life should be embraced and make sure the decisions made are change-ready. A decentralized structure is precisely that, flexible. It decentralizes work and decision-making, reducing dependence of the network on one specific node. And in a way, decentralization is a form of Stoic preparedness. In psychology, this connects to the phenomenon of groupthink, especially when power is vested in one person. Everything changes, and the opinions of this person are followed by the rest of the group without any criticism. This puts all the members of the entire group at the mercy of the leader's weaknesses. The works on group processes, Ganis, 1972, have explained that centralized decision-making hampers innovative thinking and encourages groupthink, and therefore decentralization present divergent views. To use this law for power, if you are the leader, the better part is to decentralize power. Plant multiple leaders around your circle. Build several authorities so your absence will not turn everything into a wreck. It enables you to have your inputs, but not visibly exposed in a manner that puts you on the receiving end of attack. On the flip side, if you want to disrupt an opposing camp, focus on an essential opponent, but ensure that they have significant authority. A decentralized structure is more difficult to disassemble because a leader's absence can be covered and the work continues. The key to mastering this law is balance. A leader should wield power, but not hoard it. A group should trust their leader, but not be paralyzed without them. Chapter 4. Leading the lackluster. When a leader is felled, there is the leadership gap that is as contentious as it is such a vacuum that is riddled with chaos. To be able to control it or to defend against it is fully comprehensible. Knowing the existence of this vacuum is crucial. This situation presents the followers in a very vulnerable position, since they will just be looking for someone to tell them what to do. As always, this is where you can step in. Simply by placing oneself into this void strategically, one can then take over and lead the lost sheep right back to the flock. In the context of postmodernism, it refers to the idea of anarchic chaos from Nietzschean perspective, whereby lack of order results to desire for chaos order. One can see that human nature does not like to be left empty-handed. People are willing to surrender to somebody they have never met in person. According to Stoicism, it is important not to panic in this case. Not for the followers, but also not for the potential new leader. A confident leader wouldn't rush to fill the gap with words, but would do it deliberately, taking into account both her and others' weaknesses. On the psychological side, this is connected with uncertainty, avoidance, which means that when people face some new situation, they strive for stabilized existence. Leadership crisis literature in organizational behavior has it that in the absence of leadership, followers are most likely to be captivated by charlatans. These are those who exude confidence and assurance, even where they lack the capacity. Often an intervention can put you back in charge of a confused mob, leading it in the direction you want. For our purposes, apply this law to determine when a lack of leadership arises. Timing is key. Arrive at the scene too soon, and you are seen as capitalizing on a situation. Wait too long, and someone else will have beat you to it. Domesticate yourself into the reliable element, and you'll end up hearing the nod from the followers of the ousted king. However, to prevent this law from being used against you, anticipate leadership vacuums. If you're a follower, don't blindly trust the first figure who steps in. Stay grounded and evaluate their true intentions. If you're the leader, ensure that a plan is in place for transitions. By preparing for this vacuum, you can maintain control, even in your absence, minimizing the risk of someone else filling the gap. Chapter 5. The Strategic Game. The last element of this law is perseverance and timing. Whipping the leader out in a move to disperse the followers may seem like an effective way of dealing with such figures, thus politically dismantling them. But the best power strategies are slow and steady. Organizational dynamics do not come to a collapse in one day, and followers are notably manageable if allowed to gather their defenses. The problem is that those who participate in leadership replacement should understand that leadership change takes time. They should not only oust the leader, but also coordinate the post-leadership period. According to Stoicism, the process of change is gradually contingent upon the acceptance of small incremental changes. Epictetus would tell us that the charge to the victory may be making more mistakes. That is why, in the case of leadership shifts, it is possible to speak of slow undermining as being more effective than the direct strike. If the followers are abetting the subversion of the leader's authority, for instance, you make it possible to erode their confidence and trust slowly. It makes it much easier to step into the situation. You do not have to force your way in and cause havoc. From a psychological point of view, this is closely related to cognitive dissonance. Fans are more or less committed and may go into denial if the leader's performance is attacked early, so a wait-and-see approach may be better. Through consistent application of low-level pressure, one alters external conditioning and makes followers willing to accept change. Literature in Organizational Psychology, Kramer, 2006, that the process of leadership by incremental change is healthier for the followers because they mentally adapt to them, minimizing the shock and morale. If you do have to use this law, adopt a long-term view. Mighty slowly undermine the leader. Don't look to topple them, but weaken them a little each day. Doubt their abilities, point out contradictions, bring up dissenting opinions. Let the willing, the ready, the able follow their disillusionment until they are prepared to submit to the new authority. On the flip side, if you want to prevent this strategy from being used against you, maintain your credibility and constantly strengthen your base of support. Don't allow small cracks in your leadership to go unaddressed. By recognizing potential threats early and reinforcing your position over time, you make it harder for anyone to slowly erode your authority. Ultimately, this law is a reminder that power is not always about striking fast and hard. Sometimes, the slow, quiet erosion of influence can be far more devastating. But whether you're building or defending, the secret lies in understanding the subtle shifts of loyalty and the timing of change. Congratulations, you've reached the end of this video. I hope this video helps. Now comment down your thoughts on this. We will read each comments and pin the most inspiring one. Peace.